I know that it has been a long time since I upload any form of video in those past 8 days. The last video that I uploaded was the monthly gacha revenue from the July month. The main reason was that, as you can see through my skins, it is the ZZZ. Now you are going to think that what's so different about it? Yes, it is not my main ID, it is my secondary ID that I was grinding for. Now there is lots of reasons that I made a secondary ID despite having a main ID which is considered as a day one account. And I already made this second ID since the Velina banner was on, kind of like a 1.5 months ago. There is a lots of reason that I made it, which I'm going to cover in this video. And also after listening all of those things, I guess you might also pick the interest to make another secondary account as yourself. Okay, let's start the video. First and foremost thing is that ZZZ already celebrating the second anniversary, and man, this second anniversary rewards is actually way too much lucrative compared to the first anniversary. Even compared to some other mainstream gacha game, this is the most generous reward that you can ever find. The main generosity that they actually shown into their second anniversary, which is giving us their limited character with their respective signature weapon. If I just give you a quick example what I'm trying to say here, which is going to be, I already picked my characters, so there is nothing to be seen in here, which is this one. Yes, you can select any form of character such as the Lucia, which is the best in slot character for the Rapture team, and also support characters. Up until now we didn't even get any other alternate option aside from our Lucia. And another character such as the Jendo, if you don't even have any other like a powerful anomaly characters, Jendo could be your first choice. And secondary characters such as our Hugo Flat, if you don't even have a raw DPS and also really want to do some totalized damage, this guy is also going to be handy. But this guy's totalized damage can also be done by our free character, which you can even get just by having cleared the story with the recent one, which is the Pyrois. Pyrois is the ether character, but having the ether element, this guy can even also deal the same archetype damage what your Hugo Blade could do. That's the similar things. And another character such as the SNB also a good character, but SNB really required the trigger to do a aftershock damage because her whole over kit is going to be revolve around your aftershock types of archetype. And trigger is one of those characters where she was the first character when it actually introduced it. And for the trigger, she's kind of like a way too much versatile compared to our Lucia. Lucia can also be work for your Rapture team, and aside from her there is no other Rapture that could do what she actually does. But for the trigger, she's also kind of like similar case as the Lucia, just doing what she's actually best at do, especially providing the aftershock types of things. But when it comes to having the universal value, trigger will be your first choice. The first choice means that she can give you a 25% defense ignores only for 5 seconds, but since she does have a field of a stun mechanics, that 25% defense rate are going to be always uptime. And this is going to be refreshed each and every time whenever your on-field character doing the damage. That's why trigger is going to be kind of like a most best pick for you alongside with your Lucia. Another character doesn't even have that much of a value, but if you are a new player who really wanted to start this game, having any of those like a character can even going to help you to your early game, to mid game, and somewhat of an end game. Currently, Jendo does have also some of this like a Nova Flare buff, just like the HSR. She's kind of having her place into the current meta alongside with the Yeshungang, alongside with the Miyabi, and also our recent anomaly sub DPS or support characters such as the Ramia. And that's not the main thing that they just totally gave us. The another thing is that this character have the respective weapon also giving to our selectors, not even random option. So if you really want to pick any of those characters, these signature weapon options are also going to be helpful. Suppose you are going to main for the Jendo since you really like her stories and also really like her designs and overall of her characteristics. Having her and also having a signature weapon can even clear any form of endgame mode whatever the game throws at you, since this ZZZ taking actions to buffing the old and new characters. This is like a simple things that I wanted to show. And if you just log in current into this during banner, you are going to get a 10 pulls. Another 20 pulls are going to be started after the second phase is started. Okay, this is like a basic things what they are actually giving us, and why did I told you that this second anniversary patch is somewhat of a way too much generous than compared to other patches. And in this current patches, they are going to give us 130 or almost like a 40 pulls if we do have some other chorus, and also if I just include the maintenance break. Now aside from the second anniversary, the reason that I actually made a secondary ID, it was already been made by my 1.5 months ago when the Valina released, as I already mentioned before in my intro. Now Valina is one of those characters which is currently only the one piece who can even imply the wind damage. Yes, wind is kind of like a new element for the ZZZ, and no other character can even have this kind of like a wind types of archetype. If I give you a closest example, Promia is also another character who can even have this wind sweep types of reaction if she does apply a certain amount of ice damage towards the enemy, but for the consistent wind sweep can only be done by the Valina. And for the Valina's case, she does actually work like any other Genshin Impact any more types of character. If you just somehow use any form of element when Valina use her tornado types of things, that element are going to be imbued with the tornado and also deal a massive amount of damage, kind of like a Venti's reaction when Venti is using his ultimate, and during the ultimate, whenever the element reaction are going to be deployed that moment, that reaction are going to be mixed between that wind and also create a huge amount of reaction in between it. So Valina is kind of like opening the path of a reaction in ZZZ, which never even introduced into this game in the first place. So since she was actually released, the reason that I actually started from her banner was that there was kind of like a commotion was happening that this second anniversary are going to be released the Ramiel, which is our first generation of White Hunter. And for the White Hunter, they are the most powerful being in this game, and they are the considered as the almost like a god level power. If I give you a closest example, some other popular games such as the Wuthering Edge, they are similar level of the Sentinels. For the HSR case, they are similar level of the Eminators, and for the Genshin Impact case, they are the similar level of the Archons. So if you really want to have a future-proof value, investing on the White Hunter is going to be your first options. These kind of White Hunter constellation are going to be way too much better compared to some any other standard DPS character. The standard DPS character that I actually mentioned, which is going to be such as the Jando, Trigger, and also SNB. As you already know that these characters are kind of like a standard DPS, and they are way too much relevant when the meta is actually favoring towards them. What I'm trying to say here, suppose a certain endgame mode are going to be favored towards your anomaly if you do have a certain X and Y amount of character, and if the character comes from the particular element such as the anomaly class, then I guess you do have the 20% or 30% extra damage. And in that case, there is kind of like a standard DPS character are going to be shine. They do have a limited time duration compared to any other White Hunter character. If I just give you an example like a Miyabi, even to this day after release over 2.5 years later, she is still thriving to this day. Yes, her teammate already been changed, especially on her first initial teammate, which was consist of a Lycor and also the Yanagi and also Shokaku and also other characters. But after some times later, when some other characters also been added into this game, there is some other changes also happening, such as Yuzuha, kind of like a best in slot for the anomaly. Since Miyabi also comes from the anomaly class, Yuzuha is best in slot for any anomaly character, not only for the Miyabi, but for the Miyabi's case, Yuzuha is must needed. And another character also released very recently, which is the Nangyongyo. Damn man, Nangyongyo is not even a universal stun character, but what she does is she's also going to be give you anomaly proficiency, anomaly defense rate only for the anomaly characters, and having her signature weapon can deal a massive amount of damage. So building around your team with the Miyabi with her signature weapon, and also Nangyongyo with her signature weapon, as well as and Yuzuha with the base copy no signature weapon, you can clear any form of endgame mode whatever the game throws at you. Okay, I totally swapped away with my own thoughts, which I should not even talk about. The main reason that I actually started from the Valina banner, there was kind of like a commotion, is that Valina is going to be best in for our Ramiel, which is considered as a exclusive character for the second anniversary, and that was already revealed into the official ZZZ site. And for the Ramiel team selection, it is the time which actually spark between the community with so many conspiracy that if you don't even have a Valina, then I guess you are going to be face lots of issue if you really pull for the Ramiel in near future. And after that, I already understand what I have to do. I didn't even create any form of new ID. This is like all of those like an ID that I already created when the ZZZ was released. In that time, I really hack out of re-rolling like a 40 accounts, and when the Valina banner was there, I totally shuffle through all of those like a 40 accounts and see that which account can give me a Valina. The account that actually give me a Valina, I'm going to start with it, and this is the account which I actually end up with it. And in that time, there was actually another character was running alongside with the Valina, which was the Yashunga. I already know that when a Void Hunter release, and after 6 months later they are also going to be released another Void Hunter. Especially if I just give you a quick time escape, the first our half anniversary character was released Miyabi in 2024 December month, since the game was launched. And after that, after 6 months later, when the first anniversary was released, there was a Wish One release. But Wish One, let me be correct, she's not even a fully Void Hunter. She considered as a similar level of a Void Hunter level. Be minded. And after 6 months later, we got a Ramiel. So whenever a new Void Hunter release, our previous Void Hunter somewhat of a facing a problematic things, and they are not even going to be relevant up to the meta. If any new form of character are actually helps them to, such as the Miyabi's actually somewhat of a pulling the strings into this new endgame mode, just the help of a Nangungu and also the Yuzuha. This is like a basic things, and each and every of course new character going to be helpful for your old characters to make shine into this current meta, but this is only going to be helpful if you do have a good amount of investment on your Void Hunter. Now for the Void Hunter case, if you do have their signature weapon respective, this is also going to be a smaller scale of a vertical investment, but if you do have a E2, damn man, you can totally brute force any form of content whatever the game throws at you. Suppose you are going to clear a endgame mode where it is not even favoring to your element, such as Miyabi is ice element, but you are going to compete with a endgame mode which is actually ice resistance way too much. But if you just use Miyabi there, you are not going to get actual damage. But if you Miyabi have a E2, sorry my bad, constellation M2, then I guess you might even have a able to chance to get a full killer reward since your Miyabi is a M2. Void Hunter constellations are way too much powerful compared to any of those standard characters. That is the reason most of the community people, when it comes to vertical investment in these certain games, they are going to give you a little bit of a rundown why you should invest only for the Void Hunters. Anyway, and when did I actually start with this account? Man, I was totally blew away the luck that this account actually shows to me. Since I really want to make it 2 accounts, I was kind of like a very tight spot in that time, especially Yeshungang was actually running in that time, which was also our previous Void Hunter. She's considered one of those like a top tier DPS character, especially mostly brute force characters. And for this account case, the main planning was that getting every Void Hunter M2, not going to get only M0, which I already have my main ID. The main ID problem was that when I actually started to get a random characters with some other random pools, I didn't even plan through all along, which actually suffered me a lot in my upcoming recent patches where I didn't even clear with my character what I have. So if I really want to have an easy time, I already understand that I really need to invest on my Void Hunter rather than just putting all of those things. So fixing the mistake, I didn't even fix my old accounts. I totally rather start a new account with a 2 Void Hunters with their respective powerful teammates. If your luck is not even favoring you, you might even have to go for like a 300 to 400 to get a single characters. But for my account, man, where am I going to start with this? I already got a M2 Yeshungang within 130 pulls, and also I got a 550 wins in a row. Man, that was actually way too much phenomenal. If I just give you a little bit of a rundown, the first Yeshungang I got within a 15 pulls, and after that I really have to go to a 70 pulls, and after that I guess that was all around like a 50 or 60 pulls that I got another Yeshungang. And after that, you already know that the another character was released, which is also considered the best in slot support for your Yeshungang, which is the Shuna. Man, Yeshungang is one of those characters, if you don't even have the signature weapon, she cannot even proc her ultimate, because her ultimate totally revolves around her Ether or Qingming sword stack, and that stack can only be applicable by only 2 characters in this game. First one is the Zhao, since I didn't even play when the Zhao was giving to me free, and I totally missed her up. Since I don't even have a Zhao, I have to get another limited Ether will support character such as the Shuna. Shuna can give you 3 Ether will stacks, which is actually going to be helpful for your rotation to do all those things. And after that, man, where am I going to start with this? My account's luck actually shined, but it didn't even last long when the Ramiel was released. I thought that Ramiel might even going to give me a good amount of chunk of things. I might even have her quickly enough, and after that I can totally play this game fine. But the game does not even give me the same lucky chances what it actually gave me into the early phases. So I know that I yap too much, all of those unnecessary things. So that's all for this like a yap. Let's move on to my character collection for this account. First one is going to be the Ramiel. Man, getting her was way too much harder compared to my getting a M2 Wishungwang. Why am I saying this? Because she really required a 210 pulls. Now the first 200 pulls didn't even give me a more than 1 copy of a Ramiel. The first 50 till that I lost within like a 75 pulls, pulls with this girl, and she is a Caesar. Before the second anniversary, editing her to a standard one, she was considered as a limited characters, but since she doesn't even have any kind of value, so leveling her as a limited character is not going to be a fruitful one. So that's why they are just totally editing her into these like a limited banners pulls of a 50 lose. So if you really don't want to lose 50 with your Lycon and also other characters, getting her is also going to be a good option since she comes from the shield class, and she's the only one character who can even have a special parry mechanics in this ZZZ. ZZZ parry mechanics always going to be switching your characters back and forth. That's the thing that you have to do all over the place. But for the Ramiel's case, 200 pulls didn't even give me. Oh sorry, I have forgot to mention Julian is also one of those characters which I also lost a 50-50, getting a 2 hard PT, not actually a hard one. Julian I did get within like a 50 pulls after getting the Ramiel with a guaranteed one. But the irony thing was that losing 50 to 75 and also getting a guaranteed character around the same pool, which is a 75. Damn man, that was a diabolical one. But the Julian didn't even took that long. It just somehow gave me within like a 50 pulls. But after that 10 pulls, man, I got a 2 Ramiel. 2 Ramiel, can you imagine that? These 2 Ramiel just totally saved my all of those pools. I didn't even think about making a signature weapon that much of a highly consideration, since I was running her with the Weeping Gemini, which is F2V options. But when I heard from the players who are suggesting her signature weapon and also read her kit, which is actually way too much powerful than ever, where it can give you a 30% whole over teammate damage bonus and also 20% personal damage gain. And if you don't even have this signature weapon, I guess you are going to be very hard time to complete her 4000 attack, since her 4000 attack whole over of a base attack is really required to give your whole over team member 1600 attack. That's the highest amount of things that you have to meet her requirement. Just like the HSRs of a Sirenny, if you don't even have 180 speed, I guess you are not even able to get her one of the passive which can give you a 20% all types of damage bonus towards the enemy. And that's the way too much loss that you could ever find for a top tier character such as her Ramiel and also for a Sirenny's case. Right now my status is the 4000 attack and also 374 anomaly proficiency. Most of the people would even suggest you to go for the 400. It is the actual of a good things, but I don't know, after equipping the signature weapon, why am I not even getting the 96 anomaly proficiency? If I just replace this freestar W engine, my anomaly proficiency remain to the same point. Is this game is actually bug, or is there anything happening? I don't know. So that's all of her build. I totally gave her a normal traditional build, which is the best slot for her. The feathered of the fate, 4 piece of a set, and 2 piece is going to be for anomaly proficiency, whatever the set can give you. Freedom Blue is one of those set. If you do have a good piece on it, I guess this is also going to be a great options for you. And I already make her skills 10, 12 and also 11, whatever really required her most. Don't want to waste my resources since this account is relatively new. Wasting my resource from back and forth to investing some other random ass shit is not going to give you a fruitful things. So that's all for this like a Ramiel. For the Valina's case, oh my god, when I just somewhat of a got her, I didn't even know she does have these 2 big jugs and also she does have also a big asset. Aside from her whole over characters and also gunning material, she's also way too much best resort for the Ramiels. That was the main sole purpose why I actually started this account. Currently these 2 characters, Ramiel and also the Valina, going to be considered as a wheelchair team or team member, whatever the third slot team member might be. These 2 characters can totally clear any form of endgame mode, whatever the games throws at you. And let's move on to our Ryu Shungang. Oh my god man, she was the most flexible M2 that I have ever got within like a 130 pulls. Yes, in those 130 pulls, some people who are actually lucky, they might have get their E6, but in this account I'm not going to go for that far. Going to be only limited around like a E2 is also always going to be my main options. For her build, she is actually equipping with her best in slot Whitewater Ballet, and for her 2-piece set, I'm currently using the Branch Blade of a Song, which is somewhat of a best in slot piece for our Miyabi. Since this, I'm not even using the 4-piece, this 2-piece can give me a crit damage, and having her crit damage is the highest requirement that you have to fulfill. Attack is also another requirement that you have to fulfill, as well as if you don't even have a 3000 attack, I guess your Shungang does not even going to do a jack shit. For her crit rate, making her 50% going to be a simple one, but if you just somehow able to sit around just like myself, 43% also not going to be a bad option, since her holdover passive can give you a lots of crit rate, not even crit damage. So that is why most of the build section, whenever you are following any of YouTubers, they are going to suggest you to make her crit damage higher than her crit rate. Okay, for her equipment, I'm currently using her event LC, and this event LC is somewhat of a giving you a good amount of secondary substats of attack. 25% is a no joke. Of course, base attack is going to be the low, since base attack of a 4-star is not going to be higher than of your 5-stars. I really wanted to use my Soul Esquiva, which is somewhat of a best insert for our pyroist free characters, but this holdover of a passive is not going to give you a single jack shit towards your, such as the ether resistance. Ether resistance only going to be applicable if your character comes from the ether elements, but our Yeshungan comes from the physical one. Okay, that's all for these things. But if you do somewhat of a get the brimstone from the standard banners, I guess that weapon also going to be give you a lots of boost alongside with a signature weapon. The difference between brimstone and also any of the like a 4-star version from a signature weapon is not even that big, but compared to some Ramiel signature weapon, Miyabi signature weapon, Wishwan signature weapon, those characters signature weapon is actually way too much needed towards them. But for the Yeshungang, she's too much flexible and also too much FTO friendly compared to some any of this like a Void Hunter that we have up until now. So having her with the event W engine and also with the brimstone, which is standard weapon, can also going to be a good options without having any kind of problem. So let's see her mindscape, or you can consider as a constellation. Her constellation 1 can give you a 20% defense signal, or her M2 constellation can give you a 40% defense signal. So if I just do the math correctly, it would be warp around like a 60%. So having 60% defense signal on herself, not even relying on some other characters to do that, or other debuff characters, stun characters to do that, this is the massive W. She just totally becomes just one-man army. So if you really want to invest on her, I guess this kind of like a pretty much of a stopping point to M2. And so I really forgot to mention the Ramiel's mindscape. On her mindscape 1, it can actually ignore 50% of all types of attribute resistance. Oh my god. And also can give you a holdover team member a 10% of anomaly damage. So as you can see that 50%. And for her M2, where is it her M2? For her M2, it can actually ignore another 15%. So compared to our Yeshungang, it is actually increasing at least 5%. So for your Yeshungang M2, it can give you a 60%, but for your Ramiel, it is warp up to like a 65%, which is not even that big. But for a sub DPS, this is a massive one. When it comes to Yeshungang, she's a fully DPS. No, nothing have her considered as a support capability. Okay, that's all for this. Like these two Void Hunter, I am currently hoping to get my another upcoming Sunbringer character to somewhat of have her own M2, which is the main planning for my making another secondary ID. I also get my Shuna for the, how should I put it, for my Yeshungang. Shuna is actually best in slot characters for fulfilling her step for the Yeshungang. Yeshungang somewhat of a revolves around the Ether Bear and also Qingming Sword, and if you don't even have the other characters to fulfill her Qingming Sword, I guess she might not even able to deploy her ultimate. She is way too much restricted when it comes to the team selection. Now currently we do have a 2 character, which is the Shuna and also the Zhao, which is a free character, and I didn't even play during the time when Zhao was giving me so free, and I have to pull the Shuna to rely on my luck, but my luck was there to fulfill my wishes. Alongside with it, I didn't even pull any of those things, but I did pick the characters such as the Lucia, since she does have with some Ether Veil types of things. I don't know if she's actually going to be provided some of this like Ether Veil or Qingming Sword to my Yeshungang, but when she is going to be built properly, I'm going to test it out and going to let you know that if she's actually best in slot character for her or not. This is like a basic simple things. Currently, I'm trying to build 2 teams. First one is going to be the Ramiel and also the Velina, and our standard character Grace. Grace does also gets huge amount of buff just by having on your Ramiel on your team. And aside from that, she's also getting a buff just like the Nova Flare HSR buff on her kits as well, as which is somewhat of a make her useful into the current meta or into the upcoming future metas. So that's all for this like a character collections. If you are thinking that starting a new account currently for this 2nd anniversary, I guess you should do it. And also always go for the Void Hunter M2 if you really want to stay relevant into this meta, and also try to get their dedicated support characters to somewhat of a easy time into the end game mode. And that's all for this like a video. I guess I don't want to give you a little bit of other explanation like map clear and also other stuff. This kind of things you can just totally do it. This is now not like a Genshin Impact where you have to go to the interactive map and also wait for your weeks and weeks to get your chest compass, and when you get the chest compass, that is the time you are going to start with your other, how should I put it, with exploration. That kind of things is not going to be happening here. But for a compared to HSR, which is an auto mode gameplay, and also the skip button is way too much massive compared to this one, I guess you might even find somewhat of a tedious and also somewhat of a bored going through all those process all over again, since I already clear all those things in my main ID, and also my main ID with a 60 level, already cleared each and every endgame mode, already cleared each and every map whatever the games actually throws at me into the up until versions, doing the whole those things all and again, which is kind of like insanity. You know that from the past Far Cry 3 most popular iconic dialogue. I know that you are not in here to listen any of this like a yep, but that's all for this like a video. If you like it, leave a like. If you do have any more questions regarding this new account selection, which character should be picked and also which character should not, I already make a dedicated video that which character should be picked from the selectors and which character should be pulled into this second anniversary banner. For a detailed through video, you can totally check it out going through my channel. And I guess I'm going to not going to yap anymore. So see you on the next video. Up until then, peace.